Welcome back. Welcome back to Peace and Plenty in 20. Last episode, we were talking all about breaking free from those either or stories, right? Those black and white definitions, those ideas that we have about the roles that we play or how we're supposed to be, like a good mom always puts her kids first, right? Or a good partner means don't ever rock the boat. Just magically wait for them to understand what you need. A good colleague can handle all parts of the project, right? And I want to start today referencing that because it kind of ties together what we're going to talk about today. When we live by these rules that we're supposed to be, we're giving away our power, right? We're putting our happiness, our growth, our possibilities, our opportunities in other people's hands. We're just giving it away. And not only that, we're waiting for them to give us the permission or waiting for them to say, let's say, for example, we're waiting for our kids to say, Mom, you know what? No, you go sit down and watch TV. I'm going to fold the laundry and I'm going to make dinner, right? We're waiting for your husband or your wife to say, you know what? I bet you're really tired. You must have had a long day. Want me to drive the carpool tonight, right? Or you're waiting for your colleague to say, wow, you must have so much on your plate. Let me handle the emails or let me do the opening of the presentation. So let me ask you, we wait and wait and wait for that. How often has that happened for you? Please let me know. Tell me in the comments. And if it does or has happened, that's amazing. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that for the most part as a whole, that's not what's happening for most of us, right? We do the waiting. And when we're in middle age, when we're in our 40s and in our 50s, in order to really start living our lives, we need to stop waiting. Stop waiting for others. Stop waiting for when the kids are older. Stop waiting for when work slows down. Stop waiting for, when my spouse has more time to help. Stop waiting for when my parents don't need me as much. We are literally experts, friends, at waiting. Think about it. What kinds of things are you waiting for? Are you waiting for your kids or your family to say it's okay for you to take time for yourself? Are you waiting for your boss to notice all the little things you do and that you deserve a promotion? Are you waiting for your partner to suggest that you take a class of something you're interested in or start that business you've always dreamed of or write that book, right? We do a lot of waiting. And I have personal experience with this, and from my clients and all the women I've talked to over the years, I hear this all the time. And listen, it's very common and very human to seek that permission, right? And it's very human also to look for that external validation, especially if you have been programmed in the good girl mentality. We're always searching for somebody to validate and tell us, yes, you're good, you're worthy, right? And it's really crazy. Like, this need for validation shows up in very sneaky ways. Like, I'm talking as little as things like downplaying your achievements unless someone else acknowledges them, right? Like, you do a project or you launch a podcast or you think of any of the things that you've done where you're kind of like waiting to see, do I get likes? Do I get, the kudos that I was expecting? Do I get the praise? And that's one of the ways it shows up. Another way, sneaky way that need for validation shows up is like only believing or truly believing that we look good if we get compliments, or if somebody, says something about our looks. Or, parenting, being a mom is a big one for a lot of us. And I think a lot of times we question our parenting choices until another mom validates them, right? And when we do this, guys, it's like we're handing out little pieces of our power to everyone around us. Here's a little piece to your spouse. They'll tell us when we're doing enough. Here's a piece to our kids. Their happiness will confirm that we're good mothers. Here's a piece to our colleagues. Their approval will show us that we're successful. But I want you to, for a moment, to think about some of the most inspiring women that you know. And I have done this because we all need role models, right? And I have done this myself. I want you to think about those women, the ones that radiate confidence, right? And I want you to picture how you see them walk into a room, how you see them just moving through life with purpose, right? What if I told you that they also feel the doubts that you feel? They also have that imposter syndrome pop up. They also sometimes wonder if they are doing a good enough job. But the difference is that they've learned to validate themselves. So what they've done, in essence, is gathered back all of those pieces of power that they once gave away and brought them back home, back to themselves. I see this transformation in my clients a lot. And there's this almost magical moment when a woman realizes that she's been asking everyone else to fill a role that was always meant for her. She was always meant to be her own cheerleader, her own permission giver, her own validator. And any of my women who are watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is the most inspiring and empowering feeling. And I want to add something that when you, this is fascinating, when you start validating yourself, something shifts in how others respond to you. It's almost like they can sense that you're now standing in your own power, right? They might even start treating you differently because you're treating yourself differently. And aside from others, for yourself, one of the most beautiful parts, and I've talked about this with my clients, one of the most beautiful parts is when you stop needing that external validation, you finally get to hear your own voice. And it's that voice that's been trying to guide you all along, right? You don't need to wait for someone to open the door when you've had the key all along. You have everything you need within you. I truly believe this from the bottom of my heart. And the other thing I believe from the bottom of my heart that was taught to me and was mind-blowing to me and is such a powerful statement that I want you to hear because it's the truth. You are the one you've been waiting for. All this waiting we're doing, who's going to come and rescue me? Who's going to tell me it's okay? That person is you. I think back to one of the most powerful parts of Untamed, Glennon Doyle's Untamed. I mean, there's so many powerful parts. Really, there are. It's like, if you haven't read it, you definitely want to pick a copy up. But one of the parts that resonated with me as a mother was she talks about at night, her daughter Tish, she's putting her to bed, and she and her husband are in the midst of a divorce. So, it's very hard on the kids, and Tish is just feeling scared and anxious. And, she's saying to Glennon, I don't ever want to lose you. I'm scared I'm going to lose you. And as a mom, as we do, she would say, honey, you're never going to lose me. I'm not going anywhere. And she writes that she says, I'm lying to my daughter. All along, she says, and I feel this way as a mom, we try to protect our kids, right? And we want to tell them that everything is going to be okay, when what we really, really should be doing is teaching them that they're going to be okay for themselves, and teaching them that they can count on themselves and that they are the ones that they've been waiting for, right? And she says she's trying to think of what else she should say. Like, she's like, I don't want to be radically honest and say, well, yep, you are going to lose me. So the phrase that she comes up with is, instead of, saying, honey, you're never going to lose me, she says, Tish, you're never going to lose you. And that resonated with me so much that I think about that to this day, because I think it's important that we learn as women to really rely on ourselves. And I don't mean rely on ourselves in a way of like, don't let anybody else help, or don't ask for help, or don't. I'm talking about the truth of living into who you are and trusting yourself and making choices and decisions that align with what you want and who you want to be. And also, like, making your own rules for yourself, making time for yourself. I'll give you an example, a personal example. So with this kind of work that I do, with creative work and, writing blogs and writing content and sharing, trying to put all of my learning into different programs for you guys. It's very hard to do that sometimes, like from home here. I have the dogs, I have the phone ringing, I have, there's a lot of interruptions. And I keep thinking about, I really need time to just go somewhere and work on my own. And like overnight. And, for a long time I had thought about that, but I had never really brought it up to Dave, my husband. I never really brought it up to him. Even though it was for me, it made so much sense. It was such a great solution to a problem to go and have, 36 hours of just pure time to work on my business and my content, and then be able to come back and be refreshed and, have the work prepared and done. And like, would he ever, and we can't fault them for that. This is also what happens sometimes. Then we start to get a little like resentful, right? When we're waiting for somebody to suggest something or give us permission. So what I did was I just said, hey, hon, like once a month, or maybe, every 2 months, here's what I'm going to do. I'm the one I've been waiting for. I'm the only one that gets to decide, this is what I need for my business, and that's what I'm going to do, right? Instead of second guessing it or feeling guilty or feeling bad. I mean, listen, sometimes those feelings still pop up, but I have to remind myself of why I'm doing it. I also have to remind myself of the example that I'm setting for my girls, to say, here, this is something that I need and something that's important to me. So this is a decision I'm going to make. But in the meantime, I also consider the family, right? I look at the date, when would be the best time to go. Anyway, so that's just my own kind of personal example. The last thing I wanted to mention to you is a concept called the hero's journey, and you may or may not have heard of it. It was officially identified by Joseph Campbell, who was a mythologist, and it's basically a narrative pattern. It's a story structure. It's a universal story structure that shows up in a lot of different places. I'll mention a couple in a minute, but basically the story is that there's someone that's waiting to be rescued, right? That person then steps into the unknown despite their fears And then they wind up overcoming and emerging stronger on the other side with wisdom to share. That's the in a nutshell. So some examples of that are Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Moana. So I want you to think about this hero's journey and adopt that mindset, because you are the hero of your story. And here's what I want you to do this week, okay? It might feel a little uncomfortable, but that's the only way we're going to make change, right? That's where the magic happens, if you've seen that meme, outside your comfort zone. I want you to, just like I asked you to do when we were talking about, that either or, I want you to pay attention to what you're thinking and how you're acting. And I want you to pay attention this time for those moments when you're waiting for someone else to either validate you or something to validate you or to give you permission. Okay, so every time you notice yourself like seeking out that permission or validation from someone else this week, I want you to then stop and ask yourself this question. What would I do if I already had that validation? So when you're in that moment and you're thinking of asking for permission, or you're thinking of, oh, I don't know if I should do that, does he or she think that's a good idea? Stop and ask yourself, if I had that validation, if I had that permission already, what would I do? I just want you to use this as an opportunity to notice where you might be giving away little bits of your power. And then from there, you can start to recognize where you can start to take that power back, right? This is just about, as you'll hear from me every week, just taking these very small actions, these very small steps to kind of reprogram the way we've been doing things, right? I want you to think of this like you're building your self-trust muscle. Because just like any other muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And if you want support in this journey, in your hero's journey, if you want support to really start to reclaim your power, think about how you can start, how you can get what you need by looking inward. This is exactly what we do in my coaching program. So if that's you, let's get on a call. You can click the link right in my, right below the show to book your strategy session, okay? All right, this week, remember, you don't have to figure this all out alone. But you do have to be the one to take that first step. You are your own hero, okay? You are the one you've been waiting for. Until next time.